Welcome to the Winning in Business podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Rissy, and I love talking to business professionals, leaders, and entrepreneurs who are winning in business. Are you ready to reach your next level of success? If so, join us on the Winning in Business podcast as I interview entrepreneurs, business professionals, and leaders who share how they've risen to success. Before we begin, go ahead, hit subscribe and the notification button so you'll be notified each time a new episode is released. Plug in and settle in. You're about to be inspired to rise up to your next level of success. Welcome back to another episode of Winning in Business. Today, I am here with Dr. William Attaway, and we are going to have a fantastic conversation. So let me share a little bit about William before we dive in. So William has been a student of leadership for 30 plus years and has been coaching leaders for over 20 years. From C-suite leaders to educators, from military leaders to small business owners, from church leaders to 6- and 7-figure entrepreneurs, he has experience in helping you conquer challenging situations and maximize potential with clear-minded focus, calm control, and confidence, so you can build an unbreakable, unshakable business. Pulling from his 25 plus years of leadership experience, leading and coaching teams in the business and nonprofit church sectors, as well as from the hundreds of leaders he has coached, clients have access to a knowledge base that is deep and wide, a coach who is for you, and a proven methodology that will help you stop spinning your wheels into overwhelm and overwork. William has captured insights from decades of coaching in his most recent book, Catalytic Leadership, 12 Keys to Becoming an International Leader Who Makes a Difference. He also hosts the Catalytic Leadership podcast each week, where he interviews entrepreneurial leaders about the insights and wisdom they have learned so far in their journey. William founded Catalytic Leadership, LLC, to help leaders to intentionally grow and thrive. He has served in local church ministry for over 25 years and is currently the lead pastor of Southview Community Church near Washington, D.C., where he has served since 2004. He holds a PhD in Old Testament, and he loves to read and speak about leadership, organizational change, and building up people and teams. He's a #1 Amazon best-selling author, and his newest book is Catalytic Leadership. Originally from Birmingham, Alabama, William now lives in Northern Virginia with his beautiful wife, Charlotte, and their 2 daughters. So welcome. I'm so excited to have you on the show. I'm going to fix this real quick. That's better. Okay. William, I'm so excited to have you on the show today.
Kelly, thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this conversation.
Yes. So let's dive in. You have such an impressive bio. And I feel like you've done so many things, coached so many different people, really. Tell us, how did it all start? How did you even get into doing what you do?
You know, it started when I was 15 years old, if you can believe it. I was invited to my first leadership conference by a teacher who saw something in me that I did not see in myself. I went and I learned about the power of leadership, for good and for bad. And I was hooked. I've been a student of leadership ever since. And that really led me to implement so many of the things that I'm doing now as I began to learn about leadership and then begin to practice it, right? Leading my first team when I was 19 and growing from there and learning and developing the principles that I teach now in the trenches, right? Learning how to do this both in the for-profit world at first, in the business world, then in the local church, and now as an entrepreneur.
Yes. Oh, excellent. And, you know, I through that journey, you said you have written books, and your latest one is Catalytic Leadership. And, you know, with that, your 12 keys. Maybe you can share a little bit of wisdom into some of this as we dive into them. But I'm so curious, how many books have you written? Because you said your latest one, which means you've written others. So share a little bit on those as well.
My first book was published in 2014. It was also on leadership, but from a local church perspective. It was leadership principles from what are called the minor prophets in the Old Testament. The books that so many people are not familiar with contained so many leadership gems and principles.
Yes.
And so I wrote a book around those. That was my first book. And then my most recent, Catalytic Leadership. I've got 3 more in the works in various stages that will be coming out in coming years, but none of those are ready yet. So that's the 2 I've got right now.
And I look at whatever your religious belief is as a listener, there still is a whole lot of insights to be gained from the Bible.
It's the best leadership book I know.
Yes. Yes. So, on the podcast, Winning in Business, we really like to talk about your success and what the ahas that you have learned along the way that have made you successful, and probably those ahas that you're also sharing with your clients that you're helping today also. So, I'd love for you to share some of those with us. The big ones, the small ones, anything that comes to mind to you that you think would help the listeners today.
I think the first one I would share comes around mindset, Kelly. This idea, the perspective that you bring to your everyday life. It's so easy to overlook that, to think that if you just have the right strategy or the right tactics or the right app or software, that's the silver bullet. I think your mindset's the silver bullet. I think the mindset that you bring to whatever you do, that is what makes the difference between success and failure, or even success and mediocrity. And so the first key in my book that I talk about that I learned in my journey was the power of pre-deciding and predetermining to have a teachable spirit. That's a decision that I make every single day. I choose whether I'm going to be teachable or not. My commitment every morning is I want to be the most teachable person in every room I walk into that day, in every conversation I have. In every environment, every meeting, I want to be the most teachable person. That means that I listen more than I speak. That means that I am in a posture of listening. And I think listening is one of the leader's most powerful tools, and unfortunately, one of the least utilized. That has been an aha for me, to see the power of that posture, that mindset of teachability over time, not only in my own journey, but in my clients, as I coach them and teach them the power of this, and they begin to implement and execute this. What they find is that their influence doesn't go down, it increases. Their success doesn't flatten, it begins to climb. Because as they learn more, as they listen more, they're able to execute at a higher level. Their capacity actually increases.
I love that. I was in a training, and the question was, do you know the 4 most dangerous words in the English language? And they are, I already know that.
Wow.
And so that goes right along with the teachable spirit, right? If you walk into any environment with, well, I already know that, you're automatically closing yourself off, right? Yes. So I love that, just the teachable spirit. So fabulous. Okay, what else do you have for us? I know you have a million gems.
I don't know about that. I really, that first one is what I call the non-negotiable to catalytic leadership.
I agree.
And really not negotiable.
Yes, I agree. And back to just that mindset, you even said it so well. Just the external things won't work if the internal is not where it needs to be. And when you work on the internal and get it in that place, then the external can be so much easier.
Yes, there is no such thing as a wasted experience in your life. No such thing. You can learn from anything or anybody. Sometimes you learn what not to do, but that can be incredibly valuable.
Yes. What not to do, how not to act.
Yes.
How
not to treat a team member. Right. That's what I think we've all experienced at some point.
Right. And I think it's going with that, when we look at it at that approach, it's looking at that failure is only feedback, right? And it just helps us to get better.
Yes, I love that, because that's the mindset you're after. That's that teachable spirit. You know what? Every time I fail, it's an opportunity to learn something. What did I learn here? How am I going to be better next time? What's the next iteration going to look like? The next time I have an opportunity to execute on this, how am I going to make it better? Those are the right questions.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Okay, so give us another one. What else has contributed to your success?
Now, early on, and I think I'm like most leaders in this, that when you step into a leadership role, you're given a title or a position. Typically, what we tend to do is copy leaders that we have worked for or that we admire. We tend to mimic them. We'll lead like they do. We might use some of the same language they use, the same philosophy. I've even seen people dress and speak like the people that they admire most. And that's normal as you're starting out, right? You're trying to get your sea legs a little bit. The problem is when you stay there. And over time, what happens is you become a bad copy of a great leader instead of leading from a place that is authentically you. So for me, one of my big ahas, and one of the things I teach these days, is that you have to discover your wiring as a leader so that you can lead from a place that is authentically you. For instance, I'm a natural introvert, right? On the Myers-Briggs, you have the extrovert side, the introvert side. Well, I'm way over here, as far on the introvert side as you can go. And for a long time, I saw that as a huge weakness, as a huge negative as a leader, because all of the leaders that we look at, that we admire and look up to, they lead from a place of extroversion, right? They lead from the out front, charismatic, hard charging, go get them people, right? Well, guess what? You can lead from a place that is authentically you, no matter where you fall on that spectrum. And learning how to lead as who I am, as an introvert, doesn't mean you hate people. If you're an introvert like I am, it doesn't mean you hate people. That's a terrible misconception that many people have. What it means is that you don't draw your energy from crowds of people. You don't draw your energy from being in a big group. You draw your energy from times alone, times of solitude and reflection. That's okay. As part of what I do, I have to speak. I have to be in large crowds of people, right? Well, that's part of life. And in order to be able to do that well and bring the best version of myself to that, I have to make sure I have a rhythm and build in times when I am recharging my batteries, so to speak. And this is part of understanding your wiring. This is part of understanding how you are designed. What I do with clients is I help them discover their wiring diagram, is what I call it. And so they can understand, okay, this is how you are wired. And there's no part of this that is wrong. Let's throw that language, that idea out. This is who you are. This is how you're wired. Now let's learn how you can lead from that place that is authentically you in a way that can truly be catalytic in its results.
Yeah, I love that. I was recently studying you take an assessment, you find out more about you. And I was studying a little bit more of it. And it's amazing how accurate it is. And when I go back to being that and being me, first of all, how easy everything is. Like, it's so much more easier when we are ourselves and not trying to be other people. And just the flow, right? Like, we can just be in a much better place of ease and flow when we do it from our authentic place instead of the bad copy. I just love that you said that, the bad copy. And I do, to your point, I also agree with you that sometimes that's where you have to start, right? And if you look at our children, they start mimicking us, and that's how they learn and think, and then they go and they become their own, and they fly and leave the nest and everything. But kind of at some point they have to mimic somebody to learn how to do something. But being the authentic self and knowing you, and I am a little bit more of the opposite of you. So I'm an extrovert, and I do gain energy from being in crowds, and I know that. And when I first became an entrepreneur, I was miserable because I was home. My office was home. Like, I knew that I had to join networking groups and I had to be out and about, or I was just going to spiral into this deep, dark place, right? Where other people, they're like, oh, as soon as I go networking, one thing, I need to go home and I need to have my alone time by myself, right? And I think it's the winning in business part of that is knowing that which you are, and making sure that your schedule fits and adapts to that.
Yes, 100%. That increased self-awareness can help you stop judging yourself.
Yes.
Stop holding yourself to a standard that is unrealistic, unattainable, and frankly, not you.
Mm-hmm.
How about you let you be you? How about you
Yes.
operate out of your design, your wiring in a place
Yes.
that's authentic? That's where you're going to find success. That's where you're going to find that feeling of, hey, this is what I'm designed to do.
And kudos to you as a coach for really helping your clients figure that out.
Mhm.
Because I also know that there are coaches out there telling people and expecting them to do what they do.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Except then there's there's the pushback, there's the wall, there's the resistance, there's the non-ease of it all. Because it's not the person's authentic self. It's not their true nature of who they're trying to be. So, I mean, I think that's just a real testament. And those are the good coaches that allow you to be you and work from your place of authenticity.
Every leader has the seeds of greatness in them, I believe. It's a matter of understanding that and watering those seeds, giving them the right nutrients, the right encouragement. And this is why I talk about, the importance of having a coach who is for you.
Yeah.
So often I hear from people who say they felt like their coach was against them. They felt like their coach was just constantly kind of battering them to try to mold them into a different image. You need a coach who's for you. And I know this is the kind of coach you are too, Kelly, where you come alongside and you encourage and you build up and you say, hey, okay, let's see how you're going, how you're growing, and let's help you get from where you are to where you want to be.
Yes. Because I look at, and I'm sure you do too, when we are in that place, encouragement and growth and our authentic selves, we bring the energy into the world.
Yes.
That then moves the energy, that instead of making everything stagnant and stuck. And I think that's important.
It really, truly is.
Yeah.
And conversely, battering on somebody is rarely helpful. That's not to say you don't hold them accountable. That's not to say you don't hold them accountable, right? You say, hey, this is what you said you want to do. Are you doing it? That's important. That's part of coaching.
Yes.
But at the same time, if you feel like out of every session, all you're doing is getting beat up, maybe that's not the right fit for you.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, give us one more tip for winning in business.
Yeah, this is one that I learned as in my journey personally leading teams. And I think it's important for every leader. There's this idea that experience makes you better. And I've got 10 years experience. I've got 12 years experience doing this thing. And that sounds impressive, right? And you read somebody's bio like you did mine earlier, you're like, oh, wow, a lot of this experience. I'm of the firm belief that experience does not make you any better. I believe evaluated experience is what makes you better. And so this is why I talk about the importance of evaluation. After every event, every big thing that our team does, we ask 3 questions. And my team can recite those questions in their sleep because they hear them so often, right? What went right? We start there. What can we celebrate? And so often this is what we jump over, right? As leaders, right? Everybody wants to run to what went wrong.
Right.
No. Let's celebrate the wins. What's rewarded is what's repeated. And what I want to make sure is that we are focusing on what's going right. Let's celebrate the wins. We do this first time our team meets, every time, first item on the agenda, we celebrate the wins. What's going right? Because that's what I want us to focus more on. What you focus on is what you get more of.
Yes.
More wins. I think every business leader wants more, right? Celebrate those wins. Reward that. Call it out. Celebrate it. Point out the people who made big contributions to those wins. That's the first question. What went right? What can we celebrate? Second question, what went wrong? Let's be honest here. Let's talk about it. What went wrong? What did not go the way we expected? Okay, let's talk about those things.
Yeah.
The last question, how would I do it different next time? How would I make it better? When you ask those questions after everything that you do, you actually process mentally your learning. Right? You're processing what went right. I want more of that. What went wrong? Oh, yeah. How would I do it different next time? What this does is it sets you up so that mentally you have processed through that learning. And the next time you're in a similar situation, you're going to bring that with you. And that's going to be available to you. oh, this is similar to the last time. I said last time, the next time I'm in the situation, I would do this different this way. You've already thought it through. You've pre-decided, you predetermined. You bring that learning with you, and it helps you to improve and get better individually and as a team. That's why those three questions matter so much. I believe evaluation is how you get better as a leader, as a team, as an organization, as a company. And so that's why I walk those through every single time something big happens, everything we need to evaluate, because evaluation matters.
Yes. Oh, those are great. Oh, perfect. Love that. And I'm a huge evaluator. I really am. And I can tell you that there was a time in my life, one of my careers, that what I did on Monday, I had to turn around and do the exact same thing on Tuesday. Oh. And I got really good, better, faster, because I didn't have to wait an entire year to do it again, because I went, what in the world went well? Do that again tomorrow. And what did not go well? Don't do that again. You know what I mean? Love and so that. Then, it was like having 2 years back to back. And you know what I mean? And really, and so to your point, it's not about it's about doing that faster, and not about how many years experience, but the evaluation process that can make you faster. Love that. So question for you. What challenges do you face as a business owner? I love asking this question because I feel like it makes it real, because as business owners, we all experience challenges. So what are the big challenges you face today?
I think the biggest thing that I face is the same thing every founder and entrepreneur I talk to faces. It is letting go.
Yes.
When you first start, you have to do everything, right? You're in that early days, you're in that growth season, you have to do everything. And there can begin to creep into your mindset this idea that nobody can or will do it like I do it. And that can be deadly. Because if you never hand anything off, if you never put anything down, you're going to find that the weight of everything that you're carrying increases more and more and more over time, until you are bowed over with the weight of all of it. Emotionally, sometimes even physically, you can begin to manifest that.
Yes.
The weight of a lack of delegation and not understanding the role of the founder, the role of the leader, is not to do everything. When you're in operations, right, your job is execution. Your job is to do the thing. When you're the leader, your job is no longer to get things done. Your job is to get things done through other people. That's a whole different ballgame.
Yes.
And most founders and entrepreneurs I know struggle with this. And I'm no exception to that. This is why I have coaches. This is why I have people who coach me in different areas of my leadership, because I need somebody to see what I can't see. It's very, very difficult to see the whole picture when you're in the frame.
Yes.
And they can look from the outside and they can ask questions that diagnose the problem so clearly, so concisely, so pointedly. And sometimes I don't like that, but I need it.
Right. And I think, the recognizing, again, what we're holding on to the tightest is usually the thing that needs to be the first thing that we let go of, honestly.
100%.
Yes, I recognize. Actually, I realized that from something that happened on my health journey. The thing that I was holding on to the tightest was the thing that needed to be let go of the fastest. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. So
that's good.
Yeah. And I do 100% think that it is the letting go, and as a leader, as a business owner, being able to delegate, being able to start managing instead of doing it all yourself. We become business owners because we're great at what we do. Right. And we love doing that. But at some point we have to start delegating and automating and giving, someone said to me, which, the mentality of this, going back to that mindset, right? As business owners, our job is to employ others. Which means letting go so that we can employ others and go and spread that energy out into the world. So, well, thank you for your honesty in that, and, your openness of sharing that. So what, and I'm curious for you, another big challenge for a lot of business owners is also they're under the false pretense that they always have to be in the chaos, right? There always has to be chaos.
Yeah.
I know that you have some opinion about that, of leading their business from kind of a controlled calmness, I believe you call it. Can you share about that a little bit?
Absolutely. The life of an entrepreneur can be chaotic. You are
Mhm.
constantly reacting to so many different things around you: clients, customers, team members, the economy, things inside your locus of control and outside of it. And I love how David Allen writes about this in his book, Getting Things Done. He writes about this idea, actually from martial arts, the idea of a lake in the mountains. And it's very calm and there's no ripples on it at all. And if I take a rock and I throw it into that lake is going to ripple. And the ripples, the effect that the rock has on the water, is exactly proportionate to the size of the rock and the velocity of my throw. The water does not overreact and the water does not underreact. And once it reacts, what happens? It returns to that calm state. This is what I work with my clients to move them toward this place of calm control, so you can conquer the challenges that are part of every entrepreneurial life. If you think you're going to live a life where there are no rocks being thrown into the water, good luck with that.
Right.
That's life. If
Right.
that's your goal, you got the wrong goal. But how you respond,
Mhm.
are you returning back to that state of calm control? Or is your life just white water, where it's just constant bubbling, churning chaos all the time? If that's your life, I'm here to tell you there's a better way.
Mm-hmm.
There is a different way to live. You do not have to live in that place of chaos. You can live in a place of calm control.
Yeah.
It does not involve you losing your mind.
Right. Or getting rid of your kids or
Exactly.
your spouse.
That's right. Exactly. My wife and I have been married later this month. It'll be 26 years, right?
Oh yeah, us too. Yeah, congratulations.
You too. We have two daughters, right? One's in college, one's in high school. I understand chaos.
Yeah.
I understand the reality of what that life looks like. Running a business, leading a church, having a family, remembering that you're married and investing in that relationship.
Yes.
Like all of this is part of life, and you can't jettison any of it. But there's a way to lead that does not involve you being under the water.
Yeah.
Or being overcome by the waves.
Yeah. Do you agree that emotional intelligence is really important for business owners?
100%.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree that it's something you can control and develop.
Yes, that's the greatest thing, right? Like they say that EQ, you can't always, you're not increasing your EQ, but your emotional intelligence, you can actually increase and you can improve it, which is great news for all of us.
Absolutely. Because I want to increase I want to increase my emotional intelligence. I want to get better at that. If I can increase my intelligence emotionally and learn how to regulate, right? Then I'm only increasing my awareness and ability to maintain that state of calm control, what David Allen calls the mind like water.
Right. Yes. That when you were describing that image, I was like, oh, that is emotional intelligence right there. Yes. And then I have one more question for you. You talk about never stop leading change.
Yeah.
And what do you mean by that? Never stop leading change.
I think every leader, every catalytic leader would resonate with that, because change is part of life. There is no part of your life that is not going to deal with change. And if you question that, I'm going to ask you if you're using the same cell phone you were using 10 years ago.
Right.
My guess is probably not for most of our listeners, right?
Yeah. Now we update every, we're doing, it might be the same physical phone, but the internal, you're updating it every month, whatever. Yeah.
Right. Because change is part of life. And this is true all over the place. And so many people rebel against it, push against it, try to hold off change. And that is a massive investment of energy and resources to try to hold back the tide of change. I believe leaders, part of our job is to never stop leading change. That means communicating why it matters, why it's important. Nobody likes change just for the sake of change. Nobody likes change that doesn't have a reason. And what's it going to give me? What's it going to provide? You know, everybody's favorite radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me? All right. This is the question everybody's asking when a change is talked about. Yeah, but what's in it for me? How's it going to affect me? How's it going to affect my life? Leaders, we get to answer that question. And we should lead with that, by the way. We should lead with that. Not just talking about how great it's going to be once it's changed, but also explaining why we can't stay here, why it's not tenable to stay here. Both of those are critical to leading change. Change management is one of a leader's highest responsibilities. And if you don't learn to do it well, then you're going to be consigned to doing it poorly for the entirety of your leadership journey.
And I also think, looking back, on teams that I've been on, change is needed. Like you know what I mean? Like you crave change. And so that's great. That's a great.
Yeah. I mean, growth involves change.
Mm-hmm.
You can't grow without change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's so interesting because there's such a big, like, fear of uncertainty, right? Like that's the biggest thing, is fear of uncertainty. And yet our whole life we have managed, and we have gone through change. Like everything is uncertain. Every day is uncertain. Every hour is uncertain. And yet, if we're here, we've lived through it, and it's going to be okay. And that's just part of change.
Absolutely. I want to grow. I want to get better. And there's no way to do that without changing. I want my team to grow and get better. There's no way to do that without changing. I want my business to grow and get better. There's no way to do that without change.
Yeah. You know what I think what comes to that is I think the thing that helps people with change is when there's how do I want to say this? Limited change, meaning one area of their life.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean? Instead of like, this is changing at home, and now we're moving, and the job is changing, like all the change. That is when the chaos, the overwhelm, the stress, so when you're looking at it as what is the one thing or two things that can change, that's a little bit more manageable, I think.
100%. In January, everybody wants to change 12 areas of their life.
And what happens come February?
We've given up on all of them.
Yes.
Because we tried to do too much at once, right?
Yes.
Focus on one thing, or at most two things, and say, I'm going to focus my energy and my effort here. And I'll bet you're going to see different results.
Yeah. And I think that's probably important for leaders to remember as they're making changes too. You know what I mean? Make manageable changes. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So for you, you've written books, you've coached such a variety of people. What are your goals in business and life?
What I'm building in my coaching practice is the ability to encounter and touch entrepreneurial leaders where they are. And to help them to move from where they are to where they want to be. And that sounds so trite, but what I mean by that is that, when I impact a leader and you help them to grow and to thrive, to move to that place of calm control, that place of clear-minded focus that can yield the confidence that their team and their clients need. When we help them get there, you don't just impact that one person. You impact every person on their team.
Yes.
You impact every client or customer they're ever going to serve. You impact, if they're married, their spouse. You impact, if they have kids, their kids. All of those ripples come from impacting that one leader. This is why I've devoted my life to this, to coaching and developing and impacting leaders to help them to grow and thrive because of the ripple effect.
Yes.
I want to help as many leaders as I can to find this place of clear-minded focus, calm control, and confidence so that they can build what they're building at the maximum capacity, something that is unbreakable and unshakable, no matter the circumstances, no matter the rocks that are thrown into the water, they're able to handle it because they're leading from a healthy place, a sustainable mindset.
Yes. And that is so important in today's world when everything is moving at such a fast pace. Yes. Yeah. So what is one accomplishment you are really proud of that you'd like to share?
Wow. It depends on the area of life that you're talking about, really. I think, personally, 26 years of marriage is a big one. because marriage is hard.
Yes.
And if we're honest, that's where so much of our selfishness is revealed. That's where so much of our pride is on display.
Mm-hmm.
And to make it for the long haul, I think is a big deal. My girls, my daughters, I'm so proud of them, and seeing them become the young women that they are is huge to me. Everything else really pales next to those two things, because I tell leaders all the time, one day somebody else is going to sit where you sit at work. Somebody else is going to do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Then what?
Yeah.
What about the people who are going to be there after that? Mm. So many people are sacrificing their families, their marriages on the altar of success.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that you're gauging it wrong. You're using the wrong metrics.
Mm-hmm. And with a little mindset work and some coaching, that does not have to happen, right?
No, it doesn't. And this is something that I talk about all the time, that we want to compartmentalize our lives. It's an idea we inherited, I think, from the ancient Greeks, this idea that you can compartmentalize and wall off different parts of your life so that, well, what happens at home doesn't affect what happens at work, and what happens at work doesn't affect what happens. And that's a cute myth. It's wrong. It's not true. It is a myth. The fact is, you and I are created as integrated people.
Right.
That part of living a life of integrity means every part touches every other part. Mm-hmm. And there's not these gross inconsistencies. But everything is together. Everything is integrated. Mm. And part of being a healthy leader with a healthy and long-term sustainable mindset is learning that and making sure that you are living that life of integrity in all the parts of your life, not just one.
Yes, that's so important. I'm so glad you brought that up. Okay, so where can people find you after this podcast? Where can they connect with you?
I'm very active on LinkedIn. So that's the first place I would say. Head over to LinkedIn, look for me. It's William C. Attaway. I'd love to connect with you and hear what you're doing and learn more about you, if you're listening to this podcast. You can go to catalyticleadership.net and find out more about the book, the podcast that I host, interviewing amazing and very fascinating leaders like Kelly, who's going to be on an upcoming episode. And you can learn more about the book, the podcast, and the coaching that I do. I love being able to help leaders to grow and thrive. Mm-hmm. And that's what I get to do through the business that I lead.
I love that. So connect with William on LinkedIn. Definitely check out his book, check out his coaching, and, follow him, because as you can see, he is wise. And, I just, what do I want to just, I feel like the word stable comes to mind, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Just like wise, stable, balanced, calm, controlled. Like you really are what you speak. That is how you show up. And I think that's really important. When you are a leader and you're out and you're, sharing your message and everything, to be that person, and you are that person. So kudos to you being the authentic you that you are.
Kelly, that means a lot. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's really been an honor to be here. I've so enjoyed this conversation.
Yes. And I am on his podcast, which we had a great conversation on your podcast as well. So it's been wonderful having each other on podcasts and having two totally different conversations, really. So
Absolutely.
it's been a lot of fun. I will put all of William's information in the show notes, so you can find all of that there. Be sure to connect with him and check out his book and all of his offerings. And until the next time we meet on next week's podcast, be sure to rise up and live. Make sure that you continue to win in business, and have a great one. Thank you for being a part of the Winning in Business podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode and want to rise up to your next level of success, but are worried about increased stress, time for work and yourself and your family, not to mention being exhausted, I'd like to invite you to a complimentary strategy call where I'll show you how you can do it all. I'll help you reclaim time, keep your sanity, handle the chaos with ease, and move to the next level of success that you deserve and desire. I hope you found value in listening today. Please always leave your comments, feedback, or questions. We check them all. I want you to continue winning in business and reach your next level of success. See you next time.